All right, MAGA Pete Hegseth is facing a lot of investigatory pressure from top Republicans in Senate Armed Services committees, in other committees that relate to the military. They are not happy with his command to, quote, kill them all. Before we dig into the updates and the pressure being placed on Pentagon Pete, let's just back up to this tweet from Eric Sperling, who points out that when Trump claims every drug boat they strike equals 25,000 American lives saved, that's his claim, even though it's not true. The person that Donald Trump just pardoned, Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, trafficked 400 tons of cocaine into the United States. That's the equivalent of about 200 drug boats. So, by Trump's own mathematical formula, the man that he just pardoned basically killed 5 million Americans through this drug smuggling. Now, of course, the formula is BS. It doesn't line up like that. But if you do want to take Trump's own logic to the extremes, then it doesn't look too good for him. This is disgusting. So Juan Orlando Hernandez was convicted by a jury of conspiring to traffic 400 tons of cocaine. He also apparently ordered someone to be chopped up by a machete and killed people when he was a drug lord. It is some insane stuff. This screenshot says, prosecutors later uncovered that Hernandez was linked with drug traffickers as far back as 2004, long before he became president, and that he had facilitated the smuggling of around 500 tons of cocaine to the U.S. They said that drug traffickers paid him millions of dollars in bribes to allow cocaine to be smuggled from Colombia and Venezuela through Honduras on to the U.S. Peak corruption. This dude does not care about U.S. lives, and Donald Trump pardoned him. There are rumors that this dude has offshore money in a crypto firm that he's going to then donate to Donald Trump. We don't know that for sure, but the cryptocurrency speculation is the one that I believe the most. Donald Trump has done a lot of corruption via crypto. This brings me on to Senator Markwayne Mullin being asked about this pardon on CNN, and his answer is mind-numbing. They always say they don't know when Donald Trump does something insanely corrupt. Joe Biden could look at someone the wrong way, and every Republican senator would be ringing the alarm, sounding the alarm, saying this is fascism. But when Donald Trump pardons an actual drug trafficker, Markwayne Mullin says,
I have to ask, he is clearly very concerned about Central and South American presidents allegedly trafficking drugs to the United States. So if that's the case, why is he planning to pardon the former Honduran president, who was convicted by an American jury of drug trafficking, who allegedly said, this is according to testimony from his trial, he would, quote, shove the drugs right up the noses of the gringos by flooding the United States with cocaine?
Well, the particular circumstances that I'm not quite aware of, however.
Oh my God, he used the Mike Johnson defense. I haven't heard of this happening. Dude, you haven't heard of one of the largest stories of the past week?
However, I do know we're trying to build relationships with Honduras. We're trying to build relationships throughout South America and Central America because China has greatly influenced those countries in a negative way.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. The United States has so much soft power. We as a country have so much to offer. I actually am proud to be an American, and I think America has a lot to offer other countries, other allies. Maybe right now that we don't have a lot to offer because our leader is an asshole, but ideally we could call Venezuela, we could call Honduras, we could call any of these countries that Donald Trump is relentlessly attacking, and we could just cut a deal. Like, he's about to go to war with Venezuela. It's insane. When it comes to Honduras, Donald Trump pardoned their ex-president who is so corrupt that he killed, under Trump's logic, how many Americans was it? It was 5 million Americans under Trump's own formula. This is not diplomacy. This is just corruption. This is trying to return us to a pre-constitutional era where Trump is a monarch who can pardon people for gifts, give gifts for pardons, do whatever the hell he needs to get what he wants.
And it's not alleged that South and Central America and Mexico is flooding our streets with drugs. We know that's where they're coming from. And so I think by building new relationships, by allowing people to have a new beginning, he's showing good faith, saying, hey, we're going to work with you.
Wait, what? By allowing people to have a new beginning, Dana Bash is like, she can't believe this bullshit. The guy who has a new beginning tried to get 500 tons of cocaine into the U.S. To continue, Markwayne Mullen is then asked about Pete Hegseth, MAGA Pete Hegseth, striking a ship illegally. His answer is pretty bad, and they begin to go back and forth.
I said before.
Full stop. Do you know that it's not
Why
true?
would it be true? And then we know that the president, we know that the Navy or the Coast Guard has picked up survivors already and sent them back to the country. So now we're saying that they did it once and they didn't do it again. I don't believe this at all.
Okay. Could that be because a lawyer in the Pentagon said you can't do that again, and then they didn't? Then they actually listened the second time? Is that possible?
No, absolutely not. And I don't know why we're spending so much time on this. The president and the Secretary of War has been very clear they're going to use lethality against our enemies, home and abroad. This has been very clear what's going on right now, that the drug organization that is considered a terrorist organization that is flooding our streets with drugs, is killing Americans every single day.
So Markwayne Mullen's entire point is that he doesn't believe this Washington Post report, but MAGA Pete Hegseth's own post all but confirmed the report when he came out and said, yeah, we do use maximum lethality against all of our enemies. The problem here is not that they're trying to stop drug trafficking in the United States. I keep repeating this. I want zero drug trafficking in the United States. The goal is to minimize the amount of drugs coming into the United States, but we have to have some standard of international law and domestic law while we do so. Due process is fundamental in a functioning not only democracy or country, but a functioning globe. You want due process no matter where you are. If an American were dropped in a country like China or Russia, you would hope they have due process, in the same sense that when a boat is on international waters and they are struck with no due process, and then they are after the fact identified as an enemy of the United States in order to post hoc justify and rationalize it, that is a problem. Just to catch everybody up, the breaking news the other day was that Trump authorized a double tap strike that experts say is likely a war crime. Pete Hegseth was really the one that authorized it, but overall Trump's administration is responsible. Trump and Pete Hegseth ordered a second strike on a busted drug boat after U.S. surveillance saw survivors fighting for their lives in the water. That double tap is almost certainly illegal under international law because there was no armed conflict. The people targeted were civilians or non-combatants, and killing the wounded or shipwrecked is one of the clearest, oldest war crimes on the books. The UK is so alarmed that it halted intelligence sharing to avoid being complicit. If the reporting holds, Trump didn't authorize a counter-narcotics operation. He authorized the unlawful killing that fits the definition of a war crime. These three prongs are very important right here. There is no armed conflict whatsoever. We'll touch back on that later. Number two, the people targeted were civilians or non-combatants. I mean, at the time, they were shipwrecked, non-combatants, and they were unarmed at the time. And killing wounded/shipwrecked is one of the clearest, oldest war crimes. Very true. We learned right after this report that the Republican-led House Armed Services Committee is now investigating Trump and Pete Hegseth for their possible war crimes, vowing, quote, rigorous oversight. Mark Kelly is then asked this morning what he would have done in this situation. His answer is very illuminating, as he is a former service member.
Based on what CNN is reporting, what the Washington Post is reporting, do you believe if there was a second strike to eliminate any survivors, that constitutes a war crime?
It seems to. If that is true,
Yep.
If what has been reported is accurate, I've got serious concerns about anybody in that chain of command stepping over a line that they should never step over. We are not Russia. We're not Iraq. We hold ourselves to a very high standard of professionalism, and this is where I'm really troubled about this, is because I have so much respect for people in the United States Navy. I served in the Navy for 25 years, and there is no organization more professional than Navy SEALs, and they should be revered. And that's why I say I hope what I've heard about this strike is not accurate.
You mentioned that you were a captain in the Navy. If you received that order, would you have carried it out?
No, and I'm a guy who I have sunk 2 ships. I've sunk an OSA-2 missile patrol boat in Kuwait Harbor, a Palnakni troop carrier in the Persian Gulf during the first Gulf War. I never, in that situation, questioned whether those strikes were legal. We were given an order to do this. It was a time of war. These were Iraqi ships. with Iraqi crew members who pose a threat to the United States military, in this case, who they invaded Kuwait. We're trying to kick them out of Kuwait. This was approved by Congress, all of that, right? So, but if I was ever given an order for a second, I've had questions about the operation in general, and I've been saying this for weeks, putting service members kind of like, are you stepping over a line here? Is this legal? They have tied themselves in knots trying to explain to us on the Armed Service Committee how this is legal. Not sharing, all of the information either, which is really troubling.
Now, that's pretty damning. Mark Kelly saying that he would have said no to this order, to the second strike. The first strike is different, but a second strike on non-combatants. We're not at war with Venezuela. Not right now. Donald Trump is rapidly progressing us there by mobilizing all of our carriers in the sea around Venezuela and then putting a no-fly zone above Venezuela, which is a threat to shoot down any civilian or military aircrafts. Just insane stuff. But Mark Kelly says he would have denied this second strike, and many people would have. That's why the UK suspended some intelligence sharing with US over boat strike concerns in major break. This happened on November 11th, and I guess nobody really understood the full depth of why the UK did this. We had our ideas about lack of due process, but we didn't know until the Washington Post reported this article 2 or 3 days ago that the reason why the UK did this, the reason why the United Kingdom suspended intel sharing, is because we were double tapping. We were striking twice. The United Kingdom is no longer sharing intelligence with the US about suspected drug trafficking vessels in the Caribbean because it does not want to be complicit in U.S. military strikes and believes the attacks are illegal. Even the UK believes the attacks are illegal. The UK's decision marks a significant break from its closest ally and intelligence sharing partner. Literally, one of our closest allies, the UK, said, nope, we're done. Canada is done with our shit. Other countries in Europe are absolutely done with our shit. Even Mark Kelly said, I would not have done this. He didn't say the yo part, that was me. But Don Bacon, a Republican representative from Nebraska, Don Bacon said to the Washington Post, and by the way, double check to make sure you're subscribed to the Adam Mockler feed. We are rapidly getting to a point where we're going to beat MAGA media. We just need you to be subscribed and dropping a like and some blue hearts below. But this says, quote, when people want to surrender, you don't kill them, from a Republican representative. When people want to surrender, you don't kill them. They have to pose an imminent threat. It's hard to believe that 2 people on a raft trying to survive would pose an imminent threat. So let's get the facts first. Secretary Hegseth deserves his day to present his side of the story. And you know what? I agree. I am an American through and through. I believe in due process and human dignity and liberalism. And I think that MAGA Pete Hegseth deserves his day in court and deserves the due process that he did not afford the people on that raft. GOP lawmakers are now pressing Pete Hegseth for more and more details. Again, the House Armed Services Committee leaders this weekend said they are seeking a full accounting of the early September U.S. military attack, and we are going to get the transparency that we have not gotten when it comes to the Epstein files, the transparency that we've not gotten when it comes to the economy as they are delaying economic numbers, and legal experts are now accusing Hegseth of war crimes, murder, or both after a new reporting on this boat strike. Former top military lawyers said on Saturday that new reporting on orders personally given by Hegseth constitute likely war crimes, murder, or both. The former Judge Advocate Generals, JAGs, working groups, which includes former officials who served as legal advisors, issued a statement to the Washington Post. Listen to this. Former U.S. military lawyers speak out. Quote, the former JAGs unanimously consider both the giving and the execution of these orders, if true, to constitute war crimes, murder, or both. They released an official statement where they unanimously said this is bad. I'm going to leave it there. If you appreciate these videos on a daily basis, drop a like and subscribe. We're going to continue pushing out breaking news, disrupting the disinformation out there. Peace out.